Haley Jean from the University of Maine, and Haley's working as a graduate student under Dr. Rachel Chapman, who used to be part of the Vermont vegetable and berry team and took a position as a professor over at UMaine. Glad to have you with us, Haley.
Hi, I'm excited to be here. Hi, everyone. I am Haley Jean, and I am a graduate student working to get my master's at the University of Maine, working with Rachel Chapman, as Vern said, and partnering with other folks at UVM to test different irrigation decision-making practices on small-scale diversified vegetable production using drip irrigation. And so through this project, we hoped to establish the effects of irrigation management styles on the crop quality and yield and on nitrogen levels, both in the soil and in leachate. And we wanted to better understand the role of how soil moisture sensors could play in making the Northeast or Northeastern farms more water efficient. And to do so, we measured plots treated with 4 different treatments, the first being no irrigation, the second being feel of soil, so going out into the field, touching it and assessing just based off of past knowledge and gut feelings. 3, using a soil moisture sensor, which uses soil suction. And then the 4th was a timer system or a daily irrigation system. And we hypothesized that the use of these soil moisture sensors would improve yield and quality, decrease nutrient leaching, and reduce water applied. But we saw kind of a variety of things. And to simulate a diversified vegetable system, we grew Marketmore cucumbers, Olympus peppers, early girl tomatoes, both in Vermont in 2019 and 2021. 2020 was skipped because of COVID, and then in Maine in 2021. And there will be a 2022 year coming up this growing season. For this presentation, I will be focusing on the Vermont results. And so for the cucumbers, or I'll explain what we tested first. We tested color, gloss, shape, firmness, and defects using the USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service guidelines, so a 1 through 5 scale. And then with Vermont data, I also compared the years, the 2019 data, because 2019 it was a very low precipitation year, a drought year, and 2021 was a very high precipitation year, as I'm sure most of you had to deal with or know. And so when looking at the cucumbers in the plots, there is no statistical difference but amongst the treatments other than gloss. And so in the soil moisture meters in 2021, there was significantly less gloss in the cucumbers. And so moving on to peppers, peppers were interesting because they had no difference between treatments, but the year really affected the quality of the pepper. So the drought year and the rainy year, though I'm still diving deeper into the stats on that one to better understand that relationship. So if that is of interest to you, stay tuned. And then tomatoes were also very different by year, but the 2021 tomatoes had no difference in their quality, but the 2019 tomatoes really did. And the treatment that had no irrigation performed worse with almost all of the quality parameters than every other treatment, so all of the irrigation treatments. And this really just shows how irrigation can affect just the consistency of quality for certain crops. So moving on to yield, these graphs show the yield by week and the count for each crop. So it's a little bit confusing, but you can see that they did vary in some of the treatments, but both the both the cucumbers and tomatoes had no difference in the yield based off of your irrigation style or your decision-making style. But peppers really performed differently between the different years, where in 2021, the feel of soil performed much worse than both using a soil moisture meter and not having any irrigation at all. Where in 2019, they perform much better with just the feel of soil and soil moisture meters than no irrigation or a timer system. And these results, the ones I presented here today, kind of just scratch the surface of what is going to go into this paper and what we're looking at, but it's just a little taste. And then it's also just barely starting to paint a picture of how soil moisture meters can be used to assess or help quality and yield. So stay tuned for more data on that. And also a big portion of this is water used. And so making sure that we focus on how much water is applied is key, especially as our climate changes and we see that water access is in the Northeast is becoming less reliable. We've seen that in the last few years, and that will become increasingly more of an issue. You can see from both of these years that the timer treatment or the daily irrigation used drastically more water, and that corresponded to the amount of leachate that we were actually allowed or able to collect from those plots. Though when we tested for soil nitrogen and water nitrates, there was no difference in between the treatments. It shows that this expensive resource like water is leaching through the root zone, and your plants no longer have access to that water. And so this is just a little acknowledgements thing, but what's next for our project is that we have to still do the 2022 Maine data. And for my thesis, which hopefully people will be able to utilize, I'm looking at the costs and benefits of investing in soil moisture systems and just drip irrigation systems in general, and when that might be beneficial to invest in, what types or how could it be useful, and how our climate changing might be affected.
Great. Thank you, Haley. There was a question in the chat about whether the timers were just on the clock or were they driven by moisture sensors, triggered by moisture sensors?
They were just on a clock. The rate was affected by our soil type. So Maine, our site in Maine has very clay soils. So the rate was less. And then in Vermont, the soil is very sandy. But they were just based on an hourly treatment or a daily treatment.
And there's a lot of data to absorb there, but in your last slide, it looked like just using feel of soil was a pretty good way to make efficient use of water.
Yeah. Across a lot of the quality parameters also and the yield, feel of soil and soil moisture meters they're performing similarly. So I think folks
we are living, breathing soil moisture meters then.
We are indeed.
Well, thanks. Let's see if we have another question. Nope, just a thank you. All right, we'll look forward to the results of your work and say hello to Rachel. I know congratulations are in order. She's on maternity leave, just had a baby girl.